And welcome into the Backstage Pass. It's a TGIF version today, man. And I tell you what, this is going to be a good one here, right out of the gate, swinging for the fence here. And of course, presented by our good friends over at Toir Guitars. So check them out, custom made guitars, toirguitars.us, and also Bangtail Whiskey. I got to have some tonight. It's a Friday, bangtail.com, or you can check them out at the Easy Liquor app out there and get that bottle sent directly to your door. And I tell you what, I've been jamming all week, and so is my daughter. You know, she knows good music, and that's a good thing out there. When it comes to the great rock band, Bobby, the lead vocalist of the great band Saliva, joining us here on the Backstage Pass, again presented by Bangtail Whiskey and Toir Guitars. And Bobby, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Brother, we're hanging in there. Like I said, just enjoying every minute of it. And of course, you guys have a great project coming out May the 7th. It's every 20 years. It's the EP. Celebrating the 20th anniversary of the breakthrough album, Every 6 Seconds, with re-recorded tracks featuring your current band lineup. It's out May the 7th via Megaforce Records. And man, dude, y'all have killed it again with these timeless classics, rock anthems. I used to go to ball games and enjoy everything from Major League Baseball stadiums to NBA to NFL. And if you didn't know Click, Click, Boom the last 20 years, you probably were hidden under a rock, man. I tell a lot of people out there. But, hey, talk about the project, the new EP every 20 years, and just how excited you guys are to get this out to your fans.
Well, for you, you said something about Click, Click, Boom being, like, well-known. It's crazy because I've got family that lives in New Orleans, and I live in Jacksonville, so I'm a Jags fan, but I'm also a Saints fan. And, you know, I'll go to Saints games at least once a year for the past decade. And the Click, Click, Boom is the third down stop. That's the song they play every time Saints defense makes a stop. And, you know, they've been pretty good for the past, you know, I'd say 5-6 years. So there's a lot of stops in those games. So they play that song like, man, I don't know, 20 times in the game. It's pretty cool, man. When you hear that, you know what I mean? And like to be a part of this band and this legacy of that Saliva is, you know, there's a lot of fans and a lot of people that love this band. And that's why we're still doing it. That's why we did this re-recorded thing. You know, I was never really into that. Like when bands do that, I mean, I get it. Like, you know, some people are going to be like, oh, why the hell are they doing that? So I see both sides of it, but at the same time, like the 20th anniversary shouldn't go unnoticed, like, you know, and we wanted to celebrate it and do something. And, you know, there were talks about, you know, Josie potentially doing something and them doing some reunion shows. And then the pandemic happened. And, you know, all that stuff has to be planned like a year in advance. And I think if it would have went in that direction, everyone would just be sitting right now doing nothing. And that's the honest truth, because nobody was really making any sort of moves towards that. You know, Wayne, you know, and I and Paul and Brad, we were just like, well, let's do something. Let's get creative. So we wrote a new record. So we have a whole new record done. Wow. Then we were like, let's do a covers record, which we started doing that. We're almost done with that. And then this EP was just like last, you know, that was the idea that came, well, let's do something for the 20th anniversary. And then we're like, well, let's just re-record some songs and we'll start with one. Let's see how it comes out. And we did Your Disease. That was the first one we did. And it came out, we thought it came out really good. So it's like, all right, we'll record some more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Well, but the thing is, I mean, you know, there's a lot that's gone on in the music industry since those tracks were originally recorded.
Yes.
I mean, technology, social media, Spotify, playlists, you know, all the changes with the band.
Yeah.
This gives you a tool to use to reintroduce yourself to a lot of people that didn't know it first time around.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, there's a whole new generation that's could be hearing those songs for the first time. You know, but then there's parents that remember those songs 20 years ago that are now, you know, showing their kids, you know, the new versions or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, to be said about that. But, you know, we wanted to stay true to what those songs were originally. We didn't want to go against it. You know, there's something about, you know, what those five guys did when they made that record. And there's the magic and there's a vibe there that you can't take away, man. And we were never trying to do that We just want to, just show people that we're continuing and we're celebrating, what Saliva is and why Saliva is still around 20 years later,
I know I was reading the press release too, and Wayne was talking about guitars. He was a founding member there. He said, recording this one version of it, Click, Click, Boom, was kind of easier than that original recording because you guys kind of had the blueprint kind of laid out for you. Kind of talk about that, because there are some differences while still some of the similarities of keeping the lyricism, the vocals, everything there. But you got a chance to kind of put your own blueprint on it as kind of the lead vocalist now compared to the 20-year version that came before it, the original version. Talk about kind of like that, and I guess enhance a little bit of what Wayne was talking about there with that blueprint kind of laid out.
Well, they spent a lot of time making those songs and recording those songs 20 years ago. And I think even through all the years, I think once he actually went back to that mindset, things started coming back to him, like little things that you might not hear until you listen really closely and then point it out. So there were things that I never really heard before that he would say, oh yeah, there's a guitar part here that does this. We have to do that, So I got to give him props for remembering all of that as well. There's been a lot of shows and a lot of records and a lot of things since then. So to really go back 20 years, I mean, that can't be easy, but it was like, a high school reunion or something for him. It was crazy. He just it never, how he was able to just say, oh yeah, this is like this and that's like that was really cool. And we just layered everything and put everything down. Paul recorded drums in Houston and then sent me the files. And then Brad lives in Jacksonville with me. And then, he lives a few miles down the road. And then Wayne came here and Paul came here and we just all kind of put everything together and upstairs in my house. That's how we, put it, basically brought it all together. But I would say the blueprint was definitely laid out, as if you're, re-recording something that's already been done. And, those guys, definitely came through and crushed it as well. So,
one thing that I'm wondering if this is something you considered, but 20 years ago, we didn't have playlists on our iPhones. And I know that with a lot of what's gone on in country music, a lot of country music now has loops in it because they know that they may playlist the new Carrie Underwood song with the new Rihanna song. And they're trying to help the genres dance together. That's one of the things that you guys were already doing. A lot of that heavy rock stuff and the rap stuff and the mixing of those genres was already happening with some of your music. Now with these new recordings, you can make sure sonically it fits with a brand new recording. And when people mix all those playlists, it doesn't sound like old, for lack of a better word. Is that intentional or is that just an accident, you think?
I mean, I think there's a lot of simplicity to the songs and the grooves are very just head bob, and I think that there's something that's been going back from, Sweet Emotion, man. I mean, you name it. I mean, the head bob thing, if you can get people doing that, that's what it's about. And I think when Saliva first came out, Bob Marlette, a lot of the credit goes to him for producing that record and bringing a lot of the elements out that really added to that. You know what I mean? Your Disease, that chorus was not like that before he got a hold of the song. You know what I mean? The head bob was there, but it was how do we get it to the next level and stuff like that. And I think that's why the band had success through the years with Bob doing records for them as well. He had a really good, perspective on bringing ideas to life. And he was always big on the head bob and being able to groove and stuff. That was Bob's main thing. So I think that's why a lot of that Saliva stuff really had that,
I know there's another thing, Bobby, here too. A documentary on the band's kind of journey through the years is kind of slated for release coming up too. I know that's probably not out already, or is that out? Or if it's not, when can we expect it?
It comes out April 30th. It's crammed 20 years in 20 minutes. So I mean, it's a 20-minute deal. So it's I think it was done really tastefully and cool, and just, some people, like, I have, I'm ADD, man. I'll, like, oh my God, there's a squirrel, So 20 minutes is about as much as I could probably give. And I wanted to keep it short and simple. And the guy that shot it, he's the same guy that did our After Me video that came out today. And he's really good. Thomas Crane is his name, and a guy from South Florida. And so I kind of told him the idea. I was like, the band is terrible with having content. We don't really have a whole lot of stuff. I was like, really nobody knows the story. Nobody knows, a whole lot about this. They just go, oh, Josie left, there's the new guy. Well, I've been here 10 years and people somehow still think it's the new guy. It's a new guy, So I think we wanted to do something that would kind of paint the picture from the beginning. Every 6 Seconds record, they tell stories about specific songs and how that record came about. Bob's in there telling stories too. We got him involved. And then, kind of fast forward halfway through it, and then it kind of starts with me entering the band and kind of where we are now as a band. So it paints 20 years in 20 minutes, if that makes sense. So. It's best as possible.
Hey, one of my good buddies, he does a show on MLB Network, and it's called Intentional Talk, and his name is Kevin Millar. He played pro ball with the Boston Red Sox and a couple other major league teams. And I remember this like it was yesterday. It's the longest running show, and I had to mention this too because hopefully he's going to come on the show in a few weeks. But that song, Ladies and Gentlemen, is something I remember from like 2005. And man, it was like you said, the old stuff. And that's how deep I'm rooted into this, and can't wait for that documentary. Is that something you guys just kind of thinking about? Was that one of your favorite Saliva songs? Because the way it was written, the way it was done, the Ladies and Gentlemen will live on for me forever when you mentioned Saliva.
So, and that was prior to me in the band, but the story that I got is similar to the Always story. So the Always story was last song written for that record. Wow. Long story short, the band hated it. They said, this will ruin our career. It's the worst song ever. Talking about Always. Well, then you see what happens. It was like a massive radio hit for the band. Yeah. So they didn't say that too much more after that until Ladies and Gentlemen. And Ladies and Gentlemen, the story I got was they had some music ideas, and then Josie had this idea with Bob to do this like megaphone effect, like sports announcer thing. And they did it, and the band was listening to it, and they're like, this is literally the worst thing ever. It's what they said. Then you see what happens. I mean, it was a really massive song. I think they got the Tiger Woods video game, which was like a huge payday. They got like a bunch of placements with that song. And still to this day, they have a lot of placements, in the sports world. And it's funny because I got into doing some placement stuff for not just sports, but like, TV shows and things like that to do, music, background music that you hear. And I kid you not, anything rock, they have no idea even who I am. They'll just be like in rock looking for things like Saliva, Metallica, and was the other band? There's like another one, but there's like 3 bands, like Saliva, Metallica, Godsmack, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And those are like the 3 bands that a lot of them will list as like think along the lines of these 3 bands. Yeah. AC/DC, that's who it was. So it was like Metallica, AC/DC, Saliva. It's like, wait a second. And I think it's because Saliva's had so much history with things like wrestling and placements and football and sports and all that, to where that's what they can think on that. And they think, oh, that must do well. So, let's, we want stuff like that.
I love that stuff. That's
So that was what that was. Now, the first record you did was the Love, Lies, and Therapy record, right?
No, the Rise Up record. That was crazy. So I got in the band 2011. We did some songs, end of the year 2011. So November will be 10 years. And so I got in the band. We did 3 songs, and then we started touring early 2012 and just kind of got our feet wet a little bit. And introducing new singer, You know, we love them, we hate them, we don't know, you know, all that stuff. So then
Right.
we got approached by a couple labels. One was like 11-7, and another one was like there was a few, and then we had this like guy reach out to us. We had a mutual friend, and his name was Louis Bacardi, and he's like from the Bacardi family, like the Bacardi liquor and all that, Bacardi
Right.
rum and stuff. And dude, they own like Grey Goose and all kind of stuff. So he's a big Miami spender guy, and he loves Saliva. Saliva is like one of his like favorite bands. And he was like, "Hey, I want to offer you guys a deal. I'm starting a record label." Okay, cool. So he flies up and meet in his private jet, meets us in Flint, Michigan, of all places, where I think where we were at. And it was plane lands. He takes us to like Bruce Chris or something, and then we're sitting there, and he's like, "So, what kind of deal do you guys want? Like, how much money do you need, you think?" And we were like, we're all looking at each other like, we don't know. I don't know. I mean, how much, what do you want to do? Like, we're looking at, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You know, I mean, we had no idea what to even say to the guy. And then next thing you know, like, he sends over this like contract to us, and it was like, it had each member listed, and it was like $100,000, $100,000, $100,000 next to each name for like an advance just to sign. Like we were like sports players or something, man, doing signing bonuses. And I'm like, bands don't get that kind of money on a record deal. Like, so of course we acted like the other labels didn't exist. And we were like, let's just sign this no matter what, because the money he was offering was ridiculous. I mean, he gave us whatever we wanted to record, bought us all new equipment, lighting rig, you name it. I mean, he bought us tons of stuff. But when it came to, here's the record, let's hire these people and let's put the record out properly. It was called In It to Win It. And he goes, "No, man, we're just going to put it out online." We're like, "You should probably get a distribution company, try to do this right. I mean, you've already spent all this money, man." Like, I was trying to like tell him, "Look, you do what you want, but this needs to go in stores." All right. Didn't listen to me, puts it out online. And I mean, a lot of our fans are still people that want physical copies. You know, they want to buy it in the store. You know, they want to order it on Amazon, whatever, you know. So, so then that didn't happen. And then we're like, all right, we got to figure something out. So we hired a manager. Manager convinced him, we have to put this out. I've got the distribution company. I've got everything in line. All you have to do is sign the checks. He was like, okay, sounds good. So we get everything lined up, but we have to change the record. We have to change the title because we already released In It to Win It. So then that's when it became Rise Up. So that's the mix up with the two records. People are like, it's the same songs, but two different records. It's because the distribution company made us come up with a new title for the record to release in stores. So the Rise Up record happened, and I'll never forget it. We were in Philadelphia, and the day the record comes out, the manager calls me. I mean, you would think this was like April Fool's Day. Manager calls and says, "Hey, man, Lewis is MIA. He went on a charter boat to go fishing for 2 months. He said to tell everybody to kiss his ass." And
wow.
Nobody knew what happened or anything. So then we finally find out that, you know, I know I'm just airing shit out, but we finally find out that he thought that the manager was doing dirty stuff, and he thought that we were in bed with the manager against him. So he literally pulled everything. Like, dude, he washed his hands with about $900,000 like it was nothing. Like the craziest. This has to be one of the craziest stories in the past, you know, decade of record deals with bands. I mean, it has to be. So when he's about to sign the checks to the radio team, to all these people that are doing all this work, and he literally goes on his yacht for 2 months and tells everyone to kiss his ass, and just literally pulled out. And that record just never really saw any promo, anything because of
that's crazy
of that. And, you know, we weren't in bed with the guy that he thought. It was, you know, just a big misunderstanding. And, you know, it's kind of like some people, doesn't matter how much money you have, some people think they can just get into the record business. It doesn't work that way, man.
Oh, yeah.
Record business is built, even what you guys are doing, it's all built on relationships. It's all built on, who you know. And, I think like money can only get you so far. People will take your money all day, but, if you don't know what you're doing with it, in the music world, you're not putting it in the right hands, no one's going to give a shit.
Yeah,
that's the truth. And well said. Like I said, man, like I said, that's a great point there. Every 20 years comes out May the 7th. Again, Megaforce Records. It's just celebrating the guys and remastering some of those great hits that came out 2001. Again, Bobby here with Saliva with us. And I had to ask you about this one too, because I loved everything, being a diehard fan that I am. The 10 Lives album that you guys did. I loved Only the Strong Survive, your rendition of that, and then Close to the Ledge, everything, man. How fun was it to make that? And we're talking about 3 years ago, 2.5 years or so. 10 Lives, man. Y'all kicked ass on that record. I loved it.
So after Rise Up, we kind of moved on and we're like, okay. And then we ended up doing the Love, Lies, and Therapy record, which was kind of a collection of songs that I had through the years, like just as a solo artist. I'd play these songs for Wayne, and Wayne would be like, oh my God, that's got to go on the record, man. Or Paul would be like, that's got to go on the record, man. And I'm like, I don't know if it really fits. And they're like, no, trust us. They'll play us like these Saliva old school ballad songs and stuff. Like, no, it totally fits. Let's do it. So, and then we did the Michael Jackson cover, which has done really well, man, with no push, no nothing. They don't care about us. It's been out a while. That's like a globally known cover, which is awesome because I told Universal Music to put it out first when they were putting that record out. And they were like, oh, we don't hear it. And I was like, okay, well, and then so they don't put that out. They go to another song, album tanks. All right, guys, it was fun. Thanks for nothing. And they and then that song just grew legs, and it's top 5 on it's number 3 on our Spotify, and it has been, and it's just growing. And so then we did a thing with Megaforce where we did like kind of a distribution style deal, and we're like, we're content. You know what I mean? We're not going to sell 1 million records. This is never going to happen, but let's just sell records to our fans and our core fans. And let's just do it that way and try to, it just felt like the right deal for us and where we were in our, career. And so we did that, and that's what we did 10 Lives. And then we're putting the new EP out through that. And the 10 Lives record was fun to make. We did everything here in Jacksonville where I live, and Wayne would just come and they would just come visit, and we'd pound, 5 songs and then go home, go tour, come back, do more songs once we had them written. So we'd take a year. It'd take about a year to do, just between writing and getting everything down. So
it's good stuff, no doubt. And I love the new record, man. Like I said, the personal sound you put on those tracks, man. Like I said, just timeless tracks and tracks that'll live on forever. Well, I tell you, Bobby, got to ask you about this one too. Get into a little rapid fire here as we kind of close the show here, but we like to have a little fun throwing some questions out there. So, hey, during the pandemic, we know it hurt the music industry about as bad as anything out there. What's kind of the plan now? Is there kind of another tour we can expect from Saliva, later this year or 22, or some shows that you guys have? You mentioned one coming up tomorrow night, Oklahoma City, I believe, and then some other cool stuff coming up. Tell me about some of the goals for the band this year and into 22.
We're about to release some dates. I think May 7th when the EP drops. All of our dates will be released. I mean, we have a ton of touring plans and stuff where they're, able to have shows like outdoors in certain markets. There's about 35 shows on the books right now for this year. Some got moved from last year. And we got a lot of plans for sure. We're going to do a November run as well. We'll do like a November. We're celebrating the 20th anniversary this year, man. We're going to just wherever we can rock, we're going to go rock. We've got a new record recorded. We've got a covers record recorded. Really, we aren't sure what we're going to do yet, but whatever we decide, it'll be one of those. And we've got a whole Europe, UK tour plan for 2022, February, March, already booked, ready to go. Wow. All we got to do is fly there and do it. But all that's kind of just pending. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens, but that's supposed to happen. Yeah, I mean, we're we're gonna definitely do some shows, man. We're gonna rock some shows this year.
Good.
All right, you'll love this one. A couple more here for the rapid fire. Hey, what's the binge watching? What are you kind of into now on the tube, man? What's the television show of choice or the series?
Oh man, so my wife and I we started watching that Clarice show.
Okay,
That's kind of the latest one, but it's the Silence of the Lambs
Oh, right.
spinoff.
Right.
You know that I don't get to watch a whole lot of TV because I'm like constantly just working, doing stuff here. And I've got my daughter who's about to be 10, my son's 13, like between school and homeschool and all that stuff. It's kind of crazy. And then my wife she's opening an IV drip bar, which is about to open here in Jacksonville, Florida, called the Drip Bar. It's a franchise. So that's opening in June. So we're like, I'm swamped with so much stuff, man. So watching TV shows is very hard, but I will say I loved like, Breaking Bad. That was like, probably one of my all-time favorites. And I watched a lot of other stuff like the Sons of Anarchy and things like that I just got glued to like everybody else.
Right.
I liked, what was the show? That was pretty crazy. The 2 seasons, and Ozarks. I mean, come on, Ozarks is pretty spectacular. So stuff like that. I mean, I'm always into like shows where shit goes wrong.
Like life.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, I'm just saying. I feel like that's the stuff that keeps me engaged. When stuff's like, if life was just positive all the time, it'd be like, all right, I'm kind of bored,
Yeah.
So it's like, I kind of want to watch this guy get mugged by cartel and shit. So
Yeah.
Right.
It makes our world seem a little tamer.
Yeah,
right.
It does.
We went to Australia a few years ago, and I don't know if you've ever traveled overseas like that. I just so happened to be in our hotel on one of the show days, and I'm watching the news, and it is so different than it is here. And the news there, it was like the worst thing of the day was like 2 guys got into it on a boat, a casino boat. So 2 guys got into it on a casino boat, and they show the video, and it was just like the guy pushed the guy, and the other guy pushed him back. And that was like the highlight of the news, man. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, here I am on our news, and people are dying every day. It's the craziest thing. Australia, nope. It was all like censored and just completely like just different. It was like, and here's a guy walking his dog on a nice sunny day. Yep. And he just got pelted with a newspaper. Bummer.
Different world over there.
Very different world, man. Everyone's
doubt.
super nice and just polite, and it's crazy, man. Those shows were great too. Like that's another thing about music is in a band like Saliva that's been around so long, is those songs have like touched people everywhere, not just in America. And those shows we played in Australia were packed, man, and everyone was singing every single word. It was like, wow, this is like surreal, man. This is really cool.
Right.
It's a different world down under, and the fans love it. Their country, their rock, they know their music very well down there too. As we've had several Australian artists here on the show to talk about that too, no doubt. All right, is Bobby a Mexican food fan or an Italian food fan? What's your favorite?
It depends on the night, man. I switch them up. So, but Mexican, I had that like about 25, 30 minutes ago. So, yeah.
I like that. It's good stuff right there. All right, let me ask you this. Do you remember this? It's going to take some thought here probably. Do you remember the title of the first song that you ever wrote? Or if you don't remember the title, what was the song about?
The song that I ever wrote
that
just
first that came on top of your head ever.
All right. So I got to go back to 1998. How old was I? I was born in 83. So I was like, what? 13 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. The song was called Cryptic Illusions.
Okay.
And it was terrible. But I was really into the Megadeth record at the time, Cryptic Writings. So I ended up writing a song, ripping the first, the Cryptic off. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be great.
Sure.
So, and I thought it was the greatest song ever, man. I had my 4-track, recorded it on the 4-track. I set the drums up in the living room. I put one mic in the room. I played the drums because I was a drummer. So I played the drums, And then I went and played the guitars like Dave Grohl style on his first record. You know, did the guitars, did the bass, and then I sang. And I was passing my cassette tape out of school, man. I was just like letting it rip. I was stoked. And it wasn't that good.
It's all one of those. Hey, but at least you remembered that back to 1998, no doubt. Well, I'll tell you, man. What's that? Yeah, at least your memory goes back that far. That's a credit to the good old memory there. Well, I got to tell you, man, definitely want to tell people again, every 20 years EP celebrates the 20th anniversary of the Breakthrough album every 6 seconds with the re-recorded tracks featuring the current band lineup, and it comes out May the 7th via Megaforce Records. And Bobby, hey, man, continue kicking ass and taking names with Saliva. You can also check them out, salivaofficial.com. Man, we appreciate the time, man. And Jeff and I, we have to get out to a Saliva show, man, and meet you guys, and to be just honored to be in your presence, dude. Appreciate the time today. Thanks so much. That's a great Bobby from the band Saliva. And we'll see you guys next week inside the Backstage Pass presented by Toir Guitars.
And I don't know if this is like gonna. This thing got a little weird.
Yeah, the signal did get a little weird. That's all right, though. We're presented by Toir Guitars and Bangtail Whiskey. Bobby, we appreciate the time. Again, go get the new record out there every 20 years on May the 7th via Megaforce Records. We'll talk to you guys next week inside the Backstage Pass. Be sure and stay tuned for more.